السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Beloved brothers and sisters in Islam, in the world we live in today, we notice and we realize and we understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted us many bounties that most of the generations before did not have. In fact, when you look at the technology we have, the cars we drive, some of the resources we have and we are able to extract from the ground and make the most out of them, we find that most probably nobody before us had these resources. And we find today the topics of development as well as sustainability as well as sustainable development are constantly discussed. As Muslims, what is our duty towards the resources we have, the bounties that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us? The first, obviously, is to be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to acknowledge that whatever we have has come from Him, to constantly be grateful and thank Him. How do you thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Acknowledging it's from Him with your tongue, thanking Him, making dhikr, etc. And at the same time, using the bounties that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you to do good. When we look at the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, as well as some of the incidents that occurred at the beginning of Islam, we find that when it comes to sustainable development, it's not a 21st century thing. Islam came with this from the very beginning: how to look after your resources, how to allocate them properly, how to use them such that everybody benefits from them. It's recorded in a hadith that one day Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam passed by Sa'd radiyallahu anhu whilst he was making wudu, and he may have been using a lot of water. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam tells him, "What's this wasting? What's this extravagance, O Sa'd?" And he replies, he tells the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, "Afil wudu'i sarafun." Is it possible to be extravagant? Is it possible to waste when actually making wudu? And the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam replies, and he says, yes. And then look at what he says. He says, وَإِن كُنْتَ عَلَى نَهْرٍ جَارٍ. Even if you may be at a river that's flowing, he said it's possible for you to waste. He was trying to tell him that you've got this resource of water. Even though you're trying to do an act of worship, make wudu, to perform salah or to do any other thing that requires wudu, look after this bounty. And even if you find it in abundance, use that which you need from it. When it comes to us, we find, mashallah, we've got taps or faucets as they call them. When making wudu, when going for a shower, bear that in mind. Before trying to save the environment on the scale they talk about today, do it as a religious duty. As a Muslim, you're supposed to be saving water. It's recorded in an authentic hadith. The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would make wudu from one mud. One mud is roughly equivalent to your 200 milliliter or 300 milliliter water bottle. Just a little bit less than that. Some even say it's just equivalent to one glass. The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would make wudu from that, and he would make ghusl from what's a sa'. A sa', multiply that by 4, and sometimes it says 5 amdad, roughly a liter of water. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would bath with roughly 1 liter of water. Yes, this may not be the norm and the habit of most of us, but try it out. Try and save the water and the other assets that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. And this is not only about water. This is every single resource that you have. Use what you need from it. Don't waste it. You've got electricity. Most people before us, just a few years ago, a lot of people, in fact most people didn't have electricity. And today we've got electricity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted us the bounty where you don't have to wait to light your fire in order to see in the dark. You switch it on. You have one switch and the light comes on. Yes, where you need the light, use it. If you're not using it, switch it off. Let others benefit. You all of us are sharing electricity. It's your religious duty. If you're not using it, then switch it off and use these resources where you need to. It should be something sustainable for yourself as well as for others. Another example, when Umar radiallahu anhu, at his time, when they conquered many countries and many lands, and some of the people from those armies, they said, as we know that when the Muslims conquer land, then it's divided, and there's a specific way how it's divided. So they were asking those who fought in the battles, they said, we want our share of the land. And Umar radiallahu anhu thought, and he said that, or he refused to give them that share. And there was a debate. One of the reasons Umar radiallahu anhu states is, everybody who's living right now, they've all got land, they've got houses, they've got farms, etc. If we have to give everything to the people right now, what about the Muslims that are going to come from the next generation and the following generation? What will they have by the time they are born and by the time they grow up, or by the time you've got new Muslims? All the land will be occupied, all the houses will be taken, all the farms will be taken. So Umar radiallahu anhu says, no. As for these pieces of land, we will keep it under the ownership, under the guardianship of the Islamic empire, and it will benefit all the Muslims. So look at how he had that vision to realize that these resources, if we have to exhaust them now and give it out to everybody else, what's going to happen in the next generation and the following generation? In the same way, we've got to think. Sometimes we use resources such that we are the only ones on earth, and not realizing that our children will come, the next generation will come, there are other Muslims that also need to benefit. And these are all Islamic topics. Yes, they're discussed today in big forums and that, but Islam has taught us all these things. That's when it comes to sustainability. At the same time, as Muslims, we are also encouraged to develop that which we have. Development, you can speak about a lot of things. One is your assets, your infrastructure, etc. The other is developing people. Look at how Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when he reached Medina, and he realized that the Muslims need a masjid. So what did the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam do? Notice how this is after Hijrah. So Islam, the revelation has already happened. This is 13 years after he's coming to a new place, and he realizes, hold on a second, we need a masjid. So he calls out to Banu Najjar, one of the tribes there, and he says, Thaminuni. Thaminuni means, right, we've chosen this piece of land, name your price. We want to pay for this piece of land. Why? Because we want to build a masjid. So notice how the community, they needed something, they needed some sort of infrastructure, and the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam realizes this, and he says, right, let's buy this and let's build. The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, in his lifetime, he made a marketplace and he put it as a waqf for the people of Medina. And he said, this is your marketplace. Until today, it's there. Why did the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam do this? It's mentioned that because the marketplaces used to belong to other people, sometimes they were not Muslims, and they would prevent the Muslims from coming. So the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam realizes, for us to progress as a community and as a nation, we need certain things in place. So he says, you know what, this piece of land now, we are going to make it a marketplace. Whoever needs to come to buy and sell, let them come here. As Muslims, we've got to be visionaries. We've got to be people who understand that the decisions we make today not only impact us, but they impact the people who will come after. When it comes to developing human skills, when it comes to human resources, making people better, getting the best out of people, we find that there are countless examples in the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Just to mention a few, look at how he was with the youngsters. Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiyallahu anhu was one day riding with the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam tells him, he calls out to him, notice how this is the leader, and he's riding with one of the youngsters. Imagine you had the leader today, and he had one of the best cars. Maybe it may not be the best car, but he's the leader. You know, this man is the leader, and he's got youngsters with him. They're sharing the same animal. And he calls out to him and he says, Ya Mu'adh. In some ahadith it's mentioned that he called out to him thrice in order to excite him, in order to make him aware that something important is coming. And he calls him, Ya Mu'adh, O Mu'adh, do you know what the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are upon his servants, and what the servants' rights are upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Notice how he took this time and he used this method in order to teach him. And then he explains to him how the servant should not make shirk, and he should not associate partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if he does that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will enter him into Jannah. We find in another hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is with one of the companions, and he tells him, I love you for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then he gives him the piece of advice. He says, and don't forget, or don't leave out saying after every salah, Allahumma a'inni ala dhikrik, oh Allah, help me to remember you, wa shukrik, and to be grateful to you, wa husni ibadatik, and to make my ibadat, my acts of worship, to perform them in the best of manners. Beloved brothers and sisters in Islam, there's a lot that can be spoken about when it comes to this topic, when it comes to development, sustainability for us as a Muslim community, in order for us to enhance ourselves and to progress to the next level. Every single one of us has to put in the effort, wherever or in our own capacities. Somebody may be good in business, others may be good in teaching, others may have Islamic gifts, you may be a madrasa teacher. All this needs to come together in order for us to benefit as a Muslim community and as the Muslims on a large scale. For those few words, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us goodness and beneficial knowledge, and make us from those who He is pleased with. Ameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.